everyone, it's Jack and Ross from Cultaholic.com, and are you excited for this afternoon/evening?
No.
Okay, excellent. Apart from Super Showdown...
In fact, I am.
Go on.
I want to see The Undertaker and Goldberg.
Yeah?
If it wasn't my job and we had to sort of cover it, we're doing a stream, by the way. All proceeds going to Amnesty International. Please watch along, donate. It's going to a good cause. But if I wasn't doing this in my job, I would still watch Undertaker versus Goldberg.
Right.
It's the match I'm most excited about and just forever.
Well, that's fair enough, but the impending Super Show that is Super Showdown isn't the only news, so let's take a look at some lovely headlines. First of all, a WWE superstar has teased a feud with Bray Wyatt. Secondly, we take a look at reports that Vince McMahon himself is aware that WWE is broken backstage. And finally, Ryback has been talking about the amount that superstars are paid from merch and the effects of the WWE network on pay-per-view pay. So, first of all, Braun Strowman has done an interview with Wrestling Days, D-A-Z.
Oh my days!
Like
is that what that means?
I'm not quite...
I don't know.
No, I think it means days as in like, whoa, I'm dizzy.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's so much wrestling.
It does make you have a daze, doesn't it? Oh,
Yes. In a daze. Braun Strowman has been talking to them about Bray Wyatt, who was of course his former kayfabe stable leader, mentor man, and said that he was happy that Bray was undergoing such a drastic character change, because if you haven't seen, Bray Wyatt's no longer a spooky cult man, but he secretly sort of still is. He's a kids TV presenter of the Firefly.
I think it's all in his
Funhouse.
mind, Nick.
The whole show.
Any of it's real.
Right. Yes. Well, so the last episode he's going to zoom out and he's just lying asleep.
I imagine.
Yes. I can't imagine. I think you might be right. Strowman said, at first, I think it was a total reaction of everyone going, what is going on? What has Bray Wyatt done now? But now it's starting to come full circle and I'm excited to see the man come back. I'm excited to see Bray Wyatt come back.
I can't wait to see him come back just to see what it is.
Yes. And then Strowman said, you never know, he might be standing across the ring from the monster he made. And I don't think he means...
Well, that's a kayfabe line.
He means... Yes, it absolutely is. He means himself, thereby teasing a feud between himself and Bray Wyatt. But I don't know how much credence to take, because...
That last bit there just made me think, oh, this is just one of those, PR spin interviews everybody does in WWE. This is just setting up, maybe in the future it might happen. This is where it began.
Yes. Although it is a feud that I'd be interested to see. Although I wouldn't want either man to lose the feud, I don't think, which is a bit of a...
A hologram would win.
A hologram, yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Bray has been... There's no real way of telling who he's going to feud with immediately, because he has been tweeting everyone.
Vince McMahon, I reckon.
Vince is going to be the person
a
who
match with Vince in a devil costume from Amazon against Bray Wyatt. That's right, the first match will be.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Who would win? Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Yeah, he would. Speaking of Vince McMahon, apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, he is aware that WWE is broken. Now, we have the quote from Meltzer here, Ross. I've read it a few times now, but it's in Meltzer's slightly convoluted way
Read
of...
it slowly and clearly then.
Meltzer has said, in contacting a number of wrestlers, and of course what Moxley said is true, and it's hardly a secret, other than some of the new details of what he went through. That's the first bit of the sentence. So he's contacted a number of wrestlers, and of course what Moxley said was true.
Yes.
Apart from some of the new things.
So some of the new things aren't true?
Some of the new things are in addition to this. So he probably, I think he's kind of saying like an at the time of writing kind of thing. So let's not take into account what Moxley said since. But what Moxley said is true. Even those who personally didn't like him, Moxley, had nothing negative to say about what he said. Right, so what they've basically said is, at the time of writing, whatever Moxley said, Meltzer reckons that his sources agree fully that it's true. Even the ones who don't personally like Moxley, right?
Who could that be?
Or maybe just those who aren't close to him. I don't know, really. I don't know. It's pretty much acknowledged that it's all true, and we haven't seen or heard from one person disputing that. One person who was not close to him at all and felt he was a guy who couldn't be happy said they listened to him on the Jericho podcast and felt he was very honest from this perspective, that the system in place is obviously broken and that's not a secret, nor is there any doubt about it. So the general consensus is that Moxley's accurate. He said the nail on the head with the things he said, and he's echoed a lot of the frustrations backstage. But the last bit of Meltzer's sentence is very interesting. Even Vince McMahon realises that. Oh.
So is Dave's source Vince McMahon?
Because
it would seem so.
unless his source has heard Vince McMahon admit, yeah, but I just can't picture Vince McMahon going, yeah, he's right.
I'm wrong, me.
I'm rubbish.
Do you reckon he's ever said he's wrong, Vince McMahon?
No, I don't think so.
It was really weird to hear all these things we've heard about McMahon for so many years now being just said, oh yeah, it's all true.
It's so strange.
Because normally you just think, oh, it's just that people just making things up and making things sound saucier than they are or something like that. But no, it's just all true, and it's very strange.
I found it weird that Moxley's was so targeted at Vince McMahon, because even Punk's, which was really vicious. It was more about the way that it's all set up in general. It wasn't like, in fact, he said that him and Vince got on personally. It was more Triple H that he didn't get on with. But in Moxley's case, he was like, he kind of just went in on Vince.
I think there was a second interview he did with Wade Keller where he just said Vince McMahon hasn't got a clue what the F is going on. I think that bridge might have been burned down to the ground, unfortunately.
Yes, of course, maybe as well. There was like 5 years in between the Punk interview and the Moxley one, so maybe Vince has just gotten worse.
Maybe it has.
Yeah, maybe.
You would have thought so with all this money and whatnot. That's what money does to places, doesn't it? Just makes it even more worse to be at.
Yes. Well, I think that's very interesting. I wonder if Vince does realise, if this is true, that this source is correct, and Vince does realise that there's something wrong going on. I wonder if he'll change anything, and I wonder if it'll be the right changes or not.
You know, you should have a meeting and just say, lads and lasses, is anybody unhappy with the way the creative process works? If everyone goes, no, Vince, we don't like what you're doing here, surely he's just got to change it. Otherwise, with AEW, people will be jumping ship.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. It's so interesting, because if AEW gets off to a flying start over the next year, come like this time next year, there'll be people going, I want to go and work there. Then what does he do?
Yeah.
He's going to have to bend over, isn't he? Vince McMahon bending over.
But I'm excited. It's made the industry very exciting.
Yes, it has.
It has. Oh, hard jobs have been right spiced up, they have. Now let's talk about Ryback. No, but I'm joking, because Ryback actually had some very interesting things to say this week. He wasn't the guest. The guest.
He was the host.
He was the host of his own podcast, and the guest was Raj from WrestlingInc.com, which is totally backwards, but fair enough. That, I guess, it turned up some interesting points of conversation, and it did, because Ryback talked about various things in WWE, financial things, including details of merch sales, and also what the network did for how superstars were paid for pay-per-view appearances, basically. For the t-shirts, he said the thing is, a $30 t-shirt they're selling, you're making $1 or under $1 a shirt, somewhere in that vicinity. Wrestlers as independent contractors should be able to negotiate. I think that's a very fair point.
Yes, it is.
WWE will say anyone can negotiate. I can tell you firsthand that if you do that, you're not going to make any money and you're not going to be used. So everybody signs the contract and just goes along with it because that's what everyone else has done. That's really
Now I'm wondering straight away if this is something that has changed since WWE's become like the monopoly on wrestling, like, because obviously when Ryback was there was no AEW, TNA was faltering, all that malarkey, because I've listened to Bruce Pritchard, who, when asked directly how much money did Stone Cold Steve Austin make from merchandise alone in 1998, Bruce said it was over $10 million.
Right.
For 1 year.
Right.
Less than $1 a shirt. How many shirts do you have to sell?
I can't work. Don't test me, because I'm going to embarrass myself if I try. But yeah,
so, it must have got just worse and worse and worse. It's like the WWE got bigger and bigger and bigger. Surely,
you'd imagine so. And I reckon as well, people like, in special cases, people like Cena probably are making $1 or under $1 a shirt. Although he sells so much that maybe I don't know. He also talked about when the network first started and was first introduced. Ryback says they held a meeting for that when the network was first introduced, and pay went down drastically. Eventually it went back up, but we were told payouts were going to be based of previous year's pay-per-views or previous years. I'm not quite sure what he means, but I get the point. Those numbers were not made available to the talent, so you weren't given any numbers to reference it off. You have no idea what the network is doing. It's something I brought up as well.
This is where I get interesting though.
What are you talking about?
Figures are brought in.
Here we go.
I like figures.
He talks about his WrestleMania paydays. He says, my first WrestleMania was against Mark Henry. I was paid in the $70,000 to $74,000 range. That's for that match.
That makes me sick.
I know, me too. Which by far was my highest payday for a single wrestling match. I just remember it. I was in the main event right off the bat, and my paydays were what I considered anyway to be great. But I had nothing to compare it to. The next year, in the tag with Ryback, the first WrestleMania on the network that year was, I believe I made $35,000, which is still, I would be delighted.
It's a massive amount of money, but it's a drop.
Half. It's a significant drop. Yeah, and it was and even though it was WrestleMania, he says it was my lowest pay-per-view pay of the year, and I was never told why, but must have been because of the network, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what he's implying.
It's unbelievable. We've often, I think is this the first guy I saw? What's his face? Enzo Amore talking about how the network affected pays, but I don't think he gave figures. I think it's the first like sort of proper. This is what was paid here. This is what was paid here. We've heard, and it's half.
Wow.
And I guess he was in a tag team match, so it might be slightly different. I don't know how they work with that, but still, that's a massive drop off. It
is. I wonder why there wasn't more of a sort of kick-off about it at the time. You think you'd hear something.
The monopoly, it's got to be again. At the time, what year was that? 2013, 14?
Yeah, around then. Yeah.
The first network on the first Mania on the network. Sorry. So what else was around to go to?
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. Impact.
Oh, it's all going to change now. Thank you, AEW. It's all going to kick off again.
And finally, one bonus piece of news as well, a little bit cheeky. AEW are apparently, according to, I think, Meltzer, unsure whether they should acknowledge Jon Moxley as the IWGP United States Champion on their product, because Moxley recently defeated Juice Robinson midweek for the United States, the IWGP, that's New Japan's belt, the IWGP United States Championship, and obviously he's going to be a major player in AEW, and they don't know whether they should acknowledge it or not. I think do it. But what do you think?
I'm a bit, it's conflicting things, because surely Jericho versus Omega was directly influenced by Jericho's upcoming match with Okada. He had to beat Omega to look like a viable challenger for Okada. Surely that's why that was done. Because, you know, it's Omega, isn't it? Surely just if they had a shoot fight, Omega, being the younger and stronger and fitter and whatnot, would win.
Yeah.
But now I guess it's slightly different because you're actually putting eyes on another company's belt, which is on your show. I don't know. It's like what's canon and what's not. I don't know.
I know, but I agree with. I think on our notes here, there's been included a couple of Reddit posts. One from Nerevar, and then a reply from Y2J1100. And they say respectively, Kenny and Cody held that belt. They did. No point in not acknowledging it. Kenny was the first champ. It adds to the story. IMO, in my opinion.
I reckon as well. Like if AEW let New Japan belts on their show, surely New Japan can let AEW belts on their show.
Yeah.
Bit of cross promotion benefits both sides, doesn't it?
I also think it would benefit them just in a more general sense, in terms of they want to be seen as this more legit, sports orientated kind of open.
People with 25 championships all over themselves.
But like, I think that they've been so far, they've shown way more transparency than WWE do, and I think that it would help add to their image as well if they did that as well. They're like, we're not afraid. Here's another major championship from another promotion.
And it's not as if the fans watching AEW don't know who's holding what championship in New Japan, is it?
A lot of the fans probably will know, especially at this early stage. Although later on, maybe not. But I think for now, I don't see any issues with it. But we'll see. I guess we'll find out what they do next show.
Fighter Fest.
As long as he's still the champion by then, which I think he probably will be.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.